Hello and welcome to another episode of Laying Down the Lore the Old World, a lore podcast in which we aim to separate our ghouls from our goblins, our snotlings from our Skaven storm fiends, and our bloodthirsters from our bloodletters, and generally ask, what's up with this Warhammer stuff? My name is Ben Crone Barber, and I know pretty much fuck all about Warhammer. With me is my co-host Christopher Crowlin Allen.
Hi.
Who knows absolutely fuck all about Warhammer.
Yeah.
And my dear brother Darren.
All hail the four gods of chaos.
Who knows so much about Warhammer it's a wonder he has time to do anything else. After gathering online to slay some vermin in the name of Sigmar, this dichotomy between our levels of understanding became clear, and this series is an attempt to address that ignorance.
Yay.
I never know where to put the emphasis on the bit after Kral says hi. Who knows absolutely fuck all about Warhammer, or who knows absolutely fuck all about Warhammer?
I think it's on the absolutely, because you're like, I'm Ben and I know nothing, but Chris knows even more nothing.
Right.
Kind of thing.
Or is it who knows absolutely fuck all about Warhammer?
Absolutely. No, hold on a minute. We could go on.
Is it who knows?
Or you could pose it as a question. Absolutely nothing about Warhammer?
I think 41 episodes in now, there's no question about that.
I think we should attack from an oblique angle and goes, who knows absolutely fuck all about Warhammer? You know, that.
Or just, who knows absolutely fuck all? Awkward silence.
I am definitely modifying the intro for future records then.
Yeah, mum. Yeah.
Put that
Yeah. We're probably not even allowed to call it that anymore, aren't we? We got a cease and desist letter, didn't we?
Yes, we did. Yes, we did. Our first,
which we won't talk about.
Yeah, we will not be discussing what happened then.
Our lawyers say we are not allowed to talk publicly about this case.
Yeah, as part of it, I want to lay the groundwork with an open apology to Enya.
Anyway, I have a couple of points I was going to just raise about our conversation. Do you remember us doing the...
Ben, this is a podcast. This isn't a fucking board meeting. Let's fucking...
Oh, sorry, Kral. I don't mean to bore you. You know how we did the dice rolling for, the virtual dice rolling for the mutations?
Yeah,
the following day, I was listening to a podcast in the car, and there was an article called Future Steps for Prosthetics. And it basically just says, prosthetic makers have traditionally sought to mimic the limb that is being replaced, but recent developments in neuroscience suggest there is no reason why prosthetic limbs need to look or behave like biological ones.
That's what I'm talking about.
Designers are experimenting with tentacles, spikes, and third thumbs.
Hang on, let me just take a wild guess as to where those people live. Is it Japan?
Unfortunately, the article did not expand on it. But third thumb is... I love the way that they had to say third thumb. Because
not like what happened to the second thumb?
Yeah, well, exactly. Because
we don't talk about the second thumb.
If you just say second thumb, then people will be like, but I've got two thumbs. I've already got the second thumb. It's like, okay, so, right. And I recently met up with a friend from Seattle who told me that the Seattle Kraken, who are the NHL team?
The hockey team.
The hockey team? That's the one?
Yeah.
They you know how you have foam hands?
Yeah.
They have foam tentacles.
Foam Kraken tentacles. That's fucking brilliant. That makes 100% sense.
So there you go, man. Before we move on, thank you ever so much to everybody who supports the show. You guys are
We love you.
Dudes.
You are amazing. Thank you.
If you'd like to support the show, you can join our Patreon. Now, it will cost you a mere £3. Crow, what could you get for £3?
Mate, I'm struggling to think, austere times. Yeah, like, I
this
mean...
feature's drying out slowly.
Yeah. So, mate, I don't know. I can't, not a lot. That's the sad truth. Not a lot, man. Not a lot these days. But,
Or you could spend it on Patreon and come and join.
Or you can spend it on Patreon supporting us. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Please do that. Please support us.
Or you could add another £2 to that monthly donation. I'm sure that's what you call it, but yeah, call it a donation. And you can get access to the full back catalogue of Chunks of Dar, which is our bonus series in which we interrogate Dar about the things that he says or doesn't say in this show. Dar, how does Chunks of Dar make you feel inside?
Inside makes me feel loved.
Oh, that is
nice.
Not our intention, Darren. If we're interrogating you and you're feeling love, we're doing it wrong.
I'm talking about the extra £2.
Oh, yeah, no, that makes me feel warm and fuzzy. Yeah.
You can also get a bunch of merch. We've got merch and stuff, and we will not be mentioning again
the incident.
The aforementioned incident.
But it turns out we're not called laying down the law anymore. No, that's not true. I do want to send out a personal thank you and let them know I'm flattered to the person who bought the fridge magnet with our faces on. I think that's hilariously amazing. Thank you, that person.
Yeah, and I hope it. Yeah, also, why wasn't it a shower curtain? I'm really grateful that you bought it at all, but like, why wasn't it a shower curtain?
Yeah, why stop at a fridge magnet, bro?
Yeah,
sister.
You know, and if that person would like to get in touch with us and ask us to kind of release the picture of our faces on other merch, we can do that. Just reach out.
Don't offer that. I have a little pang of regret of just having my face on a magnet now. Like, it seemed quite funny at the time. Like, oh look, we can get our faces on a shower curtain and a magnet. And in the back of my mind, I think no one's going to buy that.
Yeah,
turns out it's our hottest selling item.
Yeah,
exactly. We've sold one.
Yeah, imagine what our dead eyes are seeing. Yeah.
Yeah. Imagine the debauchery that goes on in that kitchen.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a bunch of other stuff on there. We've got our logos and other advert logo designs. We've got a brand new one coming out, but we haven't actually finished it yet. So, stay tuned. What a sale.
Man.
And, if you're into like hobby stuff, like to paint, like to buy miniatures and stack them up in a pile in the corner and not paint them, which apparently is a thing.
Pile of shame.
What's that called? A pile of shame. It's so different to my pile of shame. You can head over to our newly renamed Support Us link. It's called our Quartermaster link. I can't remember why we called it that. It doesn't matter. It still goes to the same place. You can find all of our affiliates and support platforms there. So click through, buy stuff, support the show. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Thank you for supporting us.
Say thank you, Darren.
Thank you, Darren.
That will take it.
Right, now, Kralbyman, you know what time it is.
Ew.
Hello, Reichland. It's time for Sarah's Recap.
Boo!
You may have been unprepared for the little jingle. I am unprepared for this What's That Recap. So,
Here we go.
Last episode, Ben.
Me.
Last episode. Yeah.
Right. Are you going to do one of these things where you test me again to try and make it look like you know what you're doing?
What was the beginning letter of the topic we talked about?
It was C.
We spoke about Krallen, that's right. It was the mortal followers of Chaos. Who reside primarily in the north of the world, near the northern broken gate of chaosness. Do you get any in the south, by the way? Or is it like penguins and polar bears?
Yeah. There's an entire whole southern continent which is just awash with chaos, literally. And it's
Are there mortals there now?
there are now, but up until the kind of great chaos invasions begin happening from Sigmar onwards, it was almost exclusively
this is fucked up recap, not Darren's enlightening insight into stuff. All right, step down, step back.
Oh, he's gone. He's left. He's out.
No, sorry, carry on. Finish what you were saying. It sounded interesting. He said condescendingly.
It's For the vast majority of the time, it's been almost exclusively really mutated angry beastmen. Moving on. Right. No question. I'm not taking any questions at this time. This is Chris's time.
All right. I look forward to heading down south of the border and learning about whatever that thing is. In the meantime, there were the 4 tribes. There was the Norskers, the raiding Chaos Viking type dudes. There was the Kurgan, who are east of the Norskan region. So think kind of Siberian tundra equivalent. Quite a nomadic tribe, and the largest of the Chaos tribes. I believe the Kurgans make up most of the mortal Chaos follower factions, don't they?
The Kurgan.
There was the Well-Hung, which are the Stone Age nomad clans. Yeah, Mum.
The Well-Hung.
Yeah, Mum. One more time.
The what?
The Hung.
Actually, what they were called? Oh, the Hung. Okay, right. I get it.
Oh, the Hung.
Oh.
Yeah. So they were the very primitive, Neolithic kind of ugh, stone on stone bashing.
But they're the ones that everyone was terrified of.
No, that's the ones that do the barbecues, the tongs.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the tong.
And then finally, Darren, yes, the spoilers. I mean the tong.
Sorry, you weren't going fast enough, Chris.
No, the story of my life. And the tong exists somewhere in Cathay, don't they? No one knows. They kind of come in and out of kind of society and existence just to kind of raid, pillage, and then just disappear for no reason. They answer to no one. And they are the most feared. Are they the most feared by the other Chaos followers, or are they just the most feared of the faction, or both? Feared of those factions?
Both, I'd say. I mean, the people that are being invaded don't tend to make a distinction and say, oh, God, at least it's not the Tong this time. But they're the most feared within those 4 groups. So the Tong even scare themselves.
How inconvenient. Yeah. So there's those dudes. We learned about the kind of hierarchy, some of the clan behavior, social things, and bits and pieces. All in all, a cool topic, I think. Better than the High Elves, anyway. What do you think, Ben?
I actually do think it's better than the High Elves, and I feel terrible saying that. And I'm really sorry to all of our other High Elf fans, but I'm still a High Elf, but that had me by the balls.
I felt the High Elves. We're onto the Chaos. We're onto Chaos, mortal Chaos followers now. But still, going back to High Elves, I'm glad we're out of the end of High Elves. They felt like a necessary thing to cover. You know, they are the cornerstone of the lore. But I'm glad we're done now. Let's go on to the less orthodox ones, like these dudes and dudettes.
So, last episode, which was also confusingly the first episode, where we discussed
how ironic.
The Warriors of Chaos. And as we had from the WhatsApp recap there, we looked at the 4 tribes and the kind of general structure of each of the tribes in a kind of generic fashion. What I'd like to do this episode is go through the kind of life cycle of Chaos champions, the different flavors of Chaos champions, and why they're so important to the Warriors of Chaos faction. So, we touched on the hierarchy, as I've said, going from basic marauder foot troops up to cavalry, then Warriors of Chaos, the big hulking armoured kind of ambassadors of stabbiness, or crunchiness, depending on how they decide to kill you. And then from there up into the Chaos Knights, and then the Chaos Chosen, who are the kind of elite warriors of an already elite warrior society. All of these beings, in fact, almost exclusively humans, follow the gods of chaos. And so as we touched on last episode, there are 4 primary gods of chaos. Slanesh, the god of Ben?
Sexy time.
The god of Ben.
The god of Ben,
God of Ben. Yep.
With hair like that. You betcha. Slanesh, the god of sexy times or excess. Nurgle, the god of death and disease. Khorne, the god of blood and war. And Tzinch, the god of magic. and change.
The
and
god
mutation.
of annoying spellings.
Yeah, it
Every
really
time I
is
look at that
bad.
name,
It's
I'm
a
just
soft
like, what
J,
the fuck?
actually.
It's an invisible Z.
I think it's from Scandinavia or something, you know.
It's the sound you make when you get your foot trapped in.
Moving on. Draw a veil right now. And so these tribes then, as a whole, either dedicate themselves to one of these gods, or more commonly to kind of chaos undivided, the kind of the Darwinian existence of the northern tribes. Mr. Ben.
Do they ever worship like chaos partly divided? Like, I'm not a massive fan of Nurgle and Tzeentch, but I'm really into Khorne and Slaanesh. Do they ever like a chaos pick and mix?
They will do a chaos pick and mix,
Extra corn. Go easy on the Tzeentch, please. That kind of thing.
You have to factor in the kind of oppositions, the rivalry between the chaos gods. So they all kind of hate each other in terms of the chaos gods and their followers. But the followers of Khorne and Slaanesh, really, it's an on-site death match whenever they meet. And the same for the followers of Tzeentch and Nurgle, because they're diametrically opposed in terms of their values and their missions. Mr. Chris.
Question to both of you. Do you think, like, you know, when like the Tzeentch Chaos Warriors are battling or having a derby with another, I don't know, the Khornes or the Nurgle followers or something, the fans have got those cute foam tentacle things, like the was it the Seattle Krakens, was it, or something like that?
Yeah.
I hope they do. It's like they're hoping to get a proper tentacle arm one day, but in the meantime, they just have a little foam one.
And depending on how the battles are going and the favour of the gods in play, it could actually, they'll be waving a foam tentacle and it turns into a real tentacle. And no one is more.
I can't get it off.
No one is more surprised than them. But I was holding my beer in there.
What would the Nurgle equivalent be for the foam? So the tentacle would be Slaanesh. No, sorry, Tzeentch,
wouldn't it? Yeah.
Yes, I suppose the tentacle would be Tzeentch, or a wing. Your arm turns into a wing.
Right.
Yeah, like a crow's wing or something. Yeah.
Nurgle would be like a foam boil.
It would be a massive version of their own arm. It would just be a huge hand.
Bloated.
And all decayed. For Slaanesh, it would be a claw.
Would just be a floppy, flaccid rubber.
No, it would be a claw, Chris. It would be a claw. Keeping it PG.
Flaccid claw. You didn't let me finish. Floppy rubber, heavy
claw.
Flopping claw.
A flaccid claw sounds like one of two things: a smoothie or a really, really aggressive sex move.
Or not so aggressive.
Or not so aggressive. And for Khorne, it would be an axe.
Yeah.
Just an axe. Not a foam axe.
Not even a foam. Yeah. But it has written on it foam axe.
Yeah. In blood.
Yeah. Amazing. Okay, moving on.
If you can read this, you're dead. That kind of thing.
My other axe is an axe.
My other axe is already in your head. Yeah. The various tribes gravitate towards one or more of these gods. So we do have to kind of be cognizant of the kind of rival within the pantheon, but it does mean you can have a tribe that focuses on 3 out of the 4 gods or 2 out of the 4 gods.
Okay, cool.
Mr. Chris.
So I was just going to accuse you of not answering Ben's question about can you still be like chaos undivided but biased towards one or 2 other gods rather than the others?
Yeah.
But you've just kind of answered it. Yes.
Yeah. Put your regular size foam hand down, please.
It's a condition. It's my hand.
It's my
foamy hand. Porous hand, they call it. Do you get chaos followers who don't follow the orthodox chaos gods, the big 4? Do you get chaos followers that worship? What other chaos gods are there? And are they worshipped?
The horned rat? Would you
horned rat?
Sorry, we are fantasy, aren't we? Yes, so excuse me.
So horned rat, yes, is technically one of the pantheon of chaos, but is viewed as a subset of Nurgle in the way that Cain, the god of murder for the elves, is viewed as a kind of as an aspect of Khorne.
And do non-Skaven follow the horned rat, and do non-elves follow Cain? Worship, I should say.
It is possible. I can't recall off the top of my head if there was one, but I'd need to search my recollection of the Gotrek and Felix novels, because that's really where you'd find out if there was.
Cool. And then I will save that question for Chunks of Dar, Tier 2 patrons only. And we will explore that
It's more. Not Tier 2 patrons only, because people can now access them via the Patreon page, buying them individually.
No one cares, Ben. No one cares. But you raise an interesting point, Chris, in terms of the veneration that the tribes have for their own champions of yore, who will have achieved demonhood. So, as we noted last episode, the ultimate kind of goal for these champions of chaos is to be elevated to a demon prince of some aspect of the pantheon. So a lot of tribes can be led by a demon prince, and those who follow it would worship it as a god. The prime example from two aspects. So the two prime examples. One would be from Mordheim. So Be'lakor, who we've discussed previously, came to rule over Mordheim as the Shadow Lord. And so he had chaos cults worshipping him. And there would be tribes in the north that would also do the same, but they'd have to keep it kind of quiet, obviously, because Be'lakor is still hiding from his four patrons, the ones he kind of swindled out of their power.
How long would that have taken to develop? The development of a cult seems like something that's quite protracted. How long did it take for cults to kind of, who worship Be'lakor to develop in Mordheim? What was the timescale?
In terms of the kind of the context of religion within the old world, it would happen fairly quickly. It could happen within a matter of weeks that you get one turning up. Especially within Warhammer, all of the gods are interventionist gods. So they manifest some aspect of their power either through an avatar, through a demon, or through possession, or through miracles and benefits given to their followers. So it could happen quite quick. The other example taken from the Lost and the Damned book would be Queethel, who started out as a humble Skaven and who went through the kind of journey of the path of a Chaos Champion and was elevated into a demon prince based on the kind of Skaven template. That demon prince has their own capacity to provide gifts and boons to followers. And certainly in Queethel's case, they have increased their power so much that they have their own demonic pantheon. They have their own kind of greater demon, lesser demon, demonic steed and demonic beasts. Yeah. So they're able to take sections of their own kind of spirituality and form it into these demons. In general, the kind of four great gods are worshipped by tribes that come under a certain kind of name. So with Slaanesh, it's tribes of the serpent. So Slaanesh is seen as this kind of inveigling animal that can come in and put poison straight into your body, spiritual poison, can infect and gradually take over your enemies. The followers of Nurgle are known as the tribes of the Crow. And so obviously a carrion bird, they are all routinely quite smelly. And some of them are diseased, maybe syphilis, who can say? The worshippers of Khorne are known as the tribes of the Hound. And so... And so these woof.
Meow. Ben never did make a good doggy.
Many a partner have told me that.
And the tribes that worship Tzeentch are referred to as the tribes of the eagle. And sometimes
That's my eagle
confusingly,
impression.
tribes of the raven. No, that's Sanesh. That's tribes of the cock. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Hey!
Sorry.
Yeah.
Moo.
Moo.
I don't think you've ever seen a cock before, Chris.
Hey!
I bet a cow has. Jesus. That's his sexual battle cry. Moo.
My safety word.
So it sounds like the sarcastic elves, doesn't it? Moo.
With all these tribes milling around, there's constant conflict and warfare, and we kind of have to talk this episode. I say have to. We have to talk about the leadership of these tribes, and these are routinely referred to either as chieftains, who are the kind of day-to-day unexalted leaders of these given tribes, or as chaos champions. That is the kind of major step, the starting point really for a being's ascension to demonhood. They have to, in some fashion, declare themselves for chaos. And so they separate in general from any existing tribe or culture, if we touched on other sources for Chaos Champions last episode, and begin a pilgrimage, really, into the north. Now, these beings are guided by visions and portents and other things that mean the same thing, and they head off into, ultimately, the Chaos Wastes. Invariably, they find themselves in a constant state of warfare or being hunted. So in terms of their origins, Chaos Champions really start as fairly humble, in quotes, beings. They start either as a member of some marauder tribe, one of the big four tribes, or as an individual from various other races in and around the Old World in general, although you do get some from Naggaroth as well. The only race really that doesn't produce or isn't corrupted enough to produce a Chaos Champion or a follower of Chaos or a cult of Chaos are the Lizard Men, mostly because it's a completely alien concept to them. So they can't, in general, be corrupted.
They're all about lizards and amphibians and
exactly
stuff,
right,
aren't they? Spawn, yeah, and tadpoles and stuff.
So sorry, is it a magical thing? Is that why they're not corruptible?
No, it's
in their
because
nature, I think.
Yeah, well, it's not in their nature, but also they are constructed manifestations of the old ones. So the old ones who are, of course, built the polar gates, imbued their servant races with immunity.
Interesting.
To that. To some extent, the dwarves are slightly more immune to chaos than other races because the dwarves are naturally immune to the winds of magic. Not completely immune, but they have a good, solid resistance to magic and its effects.
And the Chaos Dwarfs then, is the fact that they became Chaos Dwarves down to them kind of opening themselves up to, like deciding that they wanted to basically open up the small amount of impact that they had from the winds of magic and just kind of let it run rampant?
It was really that the Chaos Dwarves, if you'll recall, there was a period within Dwarven history where their empires collapsed. The Chaos Dwarves were from holds that were not only cut off from the rest of the Dwarven Under Empire, but also constantly under siege from the forces of chaos. And eventually, the survivors of those sieges kind of open themselves up to a being of chaos referred to as Hashut, who is the kind of bull god of chaos. And they became kind of sorcerer priests of Hashut. So they kind of gave up their immunity to magic and are now as susceptible to magic and the use of magic as humans are, or beings of chaos. Mr. Chris.
Is Hashut in the same peer group as Queeful and Cain? That kind of not the minor like chaos god.
B-list celebrities.
Yeah, they're definitely a B-list god. The god is kind of based on an amalgamation of the Mesopotamian gods. So it's lots of ziggurats, lots of sacrifices, and lots of dwarves with ringlet beards. It's like a load of dwarves got perms. And, anyone with a perm is naturally evil.
Yes.
I mean, I think that's fairly widespread and well known. Yeah.
I was pretty evil back in my perm days, for sure. Yeah.
So in terms of Chaos Champions and their starting point, there's really kind of three ways of becoming a Chaos Champion and starting that process. One is you actively seek it out. You are a disciple of the forces of chaos already. So you're a marauder, you're up in the north, or you're just a complete bastard and want to follow the forces of chaos for some sort of avaricious or ambitious need for power. And that's really...
you just need a hobby. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes model trains just won't cut it.
Well, I was about to say, you're whittling and you think, do you know what, wood is rubbish. I'd like to do it on bone.
Yeah.
I'd
like to do it on live human beings.
Live human beings.
Mm-hmm.
And so these are the champions that embrace their kind of pantheon and their patron very quickly and almost wholeheartedly. They are there because they want to be there. They want to get on this path. They feel they have what it takes to become a demon prince and rule over tribes or sections of the Chaos Wastes. The second crowd will be the first crowd are volunteers. They happily go for it. The second crowd will be those who are involuntary followers of chaos. So we're talking about people who were born with, like in Star Wars, you have the Force, and then you have people who are Force sensitive. They're not able to use the Force, but they
can smell it.
Exactly right.
There's a Force in here.
Did you just force?
Did you open the window? Is someone forcing over there?
So really, what we're looking at people who are magically sensitive, and they pick up on kind of the winds of magic in a kind of in a good or bad luck kind of way, but because they can see these kind of these winds, these influences of magic, then the chaos gods can also see them, and they begin to manipulate some of them into a position where they have to, enter into a devil's bargain with the chaos gods. The god that does this the most is Tzeentch, who will implement a plan around an individual that puts them into a position where they have no other choice but to beg for help from the forces of evil, the forces of chaos, or anyone who would listen, any god that would listen. And then Tzeentch steps in and gives them the one-sided bargain that will allow them to get out of any position they're in and then take over a local cult or a town, or again march off into the north. Mr. Chris.
Sounds like Tzeentch has got big pharma tactics there. Big pharmaceutical unleashes a virus into the world. Oh, you want the antidote? Well, it just so happens for £10,000 a vial, I have it.
Or your soul.
You choose in 3 easy payments.
Yeah.
But I mean, of course, all of the gods have the capacity to do this. Some more bluntly than others. Khorne obviously will just send an army to invade your castle.
Standard Khorne behavior, innit?
Yeah.
Typical Khorne. What are we going to do with him, eh?
All the supporters there with their axes, foam or otherwise. Maybe that's really the issue. Khorne isn't actually violent. He's just a misunderstood, enthusiastic supporter
he just
of
hugs
violence.
with weapons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hugs with weapons.
You know what I mean? It's like, no, it's just my comforting axe. I just bring it everywhere. I hug everyone in the same way.
It's my emotional
Why is everyone running away
axe.
with it?
That's exactly what I was going to say. My emotional support. You mean I can't bring this on the plane? That's outrageous.
But I bought a separate seat for it and everything.
Okay, so that's where a human, say, we'll keep it human. A human being is manipulated into asking for help from the forces of chaos. You have, regrettably, a lot of times, in the midst of battle, if say for instance, the Empire is fighting against a Chaos army, you will have a lot of Chaos magic being bandied around, and some of that has a mutating influence. And so, you find a lot of incidents where an army from the Empire ends up having to kill some of its own forces because they are now mutants. They're now touched by chaos and are viewed instantly as dirty.
Dirty.
So some of them manage to escape, but they have no home to go to anymore. They will be hunted for the rest of their lives. So they make their way north, knowing that as awful as it is, they will be accepted in those cultures. Not openly, but they'll be viewed as soft southern bastards rather than mutants. Mr. Ben.
You've mentioned in the past that, I think you mentioned it with regards to the Beastmen, but like if you had a child born that has a mutation, they're then left in a forest. Would they be considered unwilling men? Or are they more in the first category?
Well, it depends, I suppose, at which point you think they have agency. Like a baby does not have any agency. And so they won't know any other life than the life of running with the Beastmen.
Yeah. Okay.
So they will have,
and they probably love it
within. Yeah, probably. Yeah. Babies.
Wild and free. Who wouldn't, man?
Fucking
off the grid. Yeah, mum.
And so an extension of that kind of corruptive gateway into chaos are the many artifacts and sites of power around the world itself, where the winds of Dar blow strong, or a demon weapon, for instance, is grasped by an explorer, and suddenly they're either possessed or they're driven insane, or they are mutated in some fashion where the weapon merges with their own flesh. And suddenly these now are, kill on sight chaos mutants. And so they'll march north if they can, or south, to try and get to, an area where they can live, in quotes, free. From the persecution of being mutants. They'll still be persecuted because, as we touched on last episode, the culture of chaos is Darwinian in the extreme. It's the survival of the fittest, or survival of the strongest, in terms of... Yeah, I've got nothing. Yeah, in terms of stuff.
Yeah, in terms of... Yeah. You're doing great, buddy.
With regards to the kind of progression of a chaos champion. So we have, say for instance, we have a petty noble from the Empire who discovered a magic ring, and suddenly one of their fingers turned into a tentacle. And instead of deciding to chop it off, they kind of constantly wear gloves and are kind of milling around their manor, their stately home, and they begin to get in contact with, say, a chaos cult. within the cult, they will be given access to knowledge and rituals where they're able to begin to worship some aspect of chaos. And, all of a sudden, their kind of cult is overthrown. They're revealed as a follower of chaos, and now they're on the run.
Stripped of all their lordly titles and money.
Exactly right, yeah. So just basically the clothes on their back and any weapons they had, they'll head off by themselves to try and
But you can keep
flee.
the shoes. We'll allow you to keep the shoes.
Yeah. One shoe. You can keep one shoe.
Yeah. Good solid pair of sneakers.
Yeah, man. But butt naked apart from the shoes. Just like
yeah.
tentacles showing and everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just your foam tentacle and one sneaker. Get out of here, scamp.
Choose where
Put
you
it
want
away.
to put that foam tentacle. Make it count.
And so they head off into the north. So they dedicate themselves to one of the 4 chaos gods, let's say. When they do that, they are instantly given 2 things by that god. They are given a chaos gift and a chaos mutation. Now, we rolled up some mutations, some funny, perhaps mutations last time. So
awesome mutations. I think I got growth.
You got
I think you
growth.
just made that up.
I think
Darren.
you got growth,
made
tentacles, and something to do with eyes. Like you can.
a crown of eyes.
No, crown. You got a wang crown, didn't you?
No, mine was pretty good. I instilled fear and growth, so I was bigger and stronger. And there was another thing as well, wasn't there? We got 3.
Yeah, it was some. It was.
You were just acid and poison.
Yeah, I was just dribbling, and I think dribble was one of them.
Dribble.
It was just very moist.
What was yours, Dars?
I can't remember at all.
Right. Okay. Well, I'm sure it was awesome.
We'll listen back.
I tell you what, I do remember, Dar. You got a sword that was a flamethrower.
Oh,
that's right. Yeah.
And one of us had like magical. Oh no, Ben, you could only wear magical armor because your skin was like coarse.
Oh yeah, acid.
Because you were just. It was poison
Falling
on
apart.
venom on toxic shit. You just couldn't wear normal clothes. It was like,
I tried, but my Primark t-shirts just kept melting. Right? Which isn't a great example because Primark t-shirts melt anyway. But you know what I mean? It's accelerated.
Can't sleep due to looming chaos mutation? Fear of waking in unfamiliar armor keeping you up? Take Xenopram and enjoy a good night's sleep and a good bright morning too, free from unwelcome chaos trinkets. Xenopram contains 3 medical ingredients made from stuff. Take Xenopram tonight and sleep, sleep, sleep. Don't wake up with tentacles. Take 2 Xenopram tablets before bed and sleep.
So the 4 gods have kind of unique gifts they give their starting champions. So with Slaanesh, they give an increased amount of willpower. Doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're into what Slaanesh is into, you need willpower to be able to get through that.
Think of dead puppies, think of dead puppies, think of dead puppies.
Followers of Nurgle get increased resilience. They're in the terms of the games, their toughness is increased by 1. So
wow, it is 1 better.
There's 1 better. So with in terms of a human, it means that they are a third more resistant to damage and disease and what have you. Followers of Khorne get a suit of chaos armor, and there's many instances of where a prospective champion dedicates themselves to Khorne, falls asleep that night. They're not vampires, Chris. And then wakes up the next morning wearing a suit of armor. It appears on them overnight.
What did I do last night?
I remember because I remember when you were reading out the mutations. You were like, and you wake up and you've got this thing, and you're like, wow, okay, that's part of the process, is it? It's like, it doesn't just happen.
You wake up with an amazing suit of chaos armor and a traffic cone on your head. Yeah. And I think we've all been there. Interestingly, if you have some sort of magic sensitivity or you're a wizard and you follow Khorne, you instantly lose all capacity to cast spells and knowledge of magic. It just flees out of your head because Khorne is anti-magic.
Interesting.
In terms of Tzeentch, you become a magic user. Regardless of what you were before, you are now also a wizard. And that's, in terms of the game, that's one of the most OP kind of characters you can face, is a Chaos Lord of Tzeentch, who is not only an amazing warrior, but also an amazing spellcaster. And doesn't have any of the weaknesses that a spellcaster of their original race would have. In terms of, you can wear chaos armor, and that allows you to cast spells while wearing a full set of, plate mail.
Yeah, that's always something that really kills me when I'm playing RPG games, is that I always want to be the spellcaster, but then I pick up a suit of like heavy armor, which I can't wear because I just can't manage it, and I'm like, wish I could do both. In Skyrim, you could sort of do both. Like, you could do like kind of two-handed weapons, but then also like fireballs out your arse or whatever. But you were never.
What mod is that?
It's the Braveheart mod.
The Braveheart.
But yeah, you were never particularly good at either one.
Yeah. So you end up then as this, a champion of one of these four chaos powers, or a Chaos Undivided. And in Chaos Undivided, you get a random chaos gift plus a random mutation. In terms of chaos gifts, randomized chaos gifts, these can include suits of armor, magic weapons, increased strength, and then sort of generic followers like a pack of chaos hounds, which like you're a fallen evil librarian on the run, and suddenly you have 10 really loud barking mutated hounds next to you trying to stay quiet as you go through a city. So it can be a challenge.
Are there any of them that you get and you kind of be like, yeah, this isn't a gift, I don't want this? Like,
yeah, a lot of it.
I preferred socks.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
I think, just about all followers feel that.
Okay.
It's the chaos gods that call it a gift. It's perspective.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah. Okay.
Do you know
it's like
what
when
I mean?
my cat brings in a decapitated mouse. It's a gift.
Yeah.
No, it's not, Martha.
I just like the idea that your cat, somewhere in the garden, has a collection of mouse heads arrayed in a semicircle, and then just kind of sits down and stares at them all
with a pentagram joining them.
Yeah, man, that is not far from the truth. I'm sure. I'm positive.
Yes. So in terms of mutations, we discussed last episode. There's a significant table of mutations. If you can imagine it, there is a mutation for it. Everything from large legs to, and I'm going to go out on a limb here, large hands.
Nice. Nice. That was a good one.
So you have the Chaos Champion and their initial kind of gifts bestowed upon them by the Chaos Pantheon. It's then up to them to make their way and to increase their power and increase their influence as they head north. Now, I keep saying as they head north. Some of them don't really ever make it out of the Empire, not just because they're killed on sight, but also because their visions, their kind of missions given to them by the Chaos Gods relate to events within their homeland.
Okay.
But in general, the most powerful Chaos Champions always make a pilgrimage up to, in fact, an area right next to the collapsed polar gates called the Endless Battle, which is not only a name for a region, but also for what happens in that region, where it's the followers of the four gods fighting against each other. And so as a champion makes their way through there, or through the, coming from the Empire, through Kislev, the Troll Country, the Frozen North, the Chaos Wastes, up to the Endless Battle, they are...
Hanging Gardens, Babylon.
Prophet. They are fighting for their very survival all the time. It's
just
not
like everybody
an easy
else
task
in the old world.
Yes, but
yeah.
With everyone else in the old world, they don't have the opportunity to become a demon prince. So what you're seeing is a lot of champions who know what the end goal is and who are all aimed at it. And
competitive survival. Got it.
Yes, almost none of them will make it ultimately.
So these challenges just keep ramping up until they arrive at an endless battle, which is right next to the polar gates, which I'm assuming is essentially like a rip in space-time where chaos energy is still constantly flowing out. So you're still being mutated, basically, as you're arriving there?
Yes, but what you'll find is that your patron will protect you from the worst of the mutations. So you're not much use to your Chaos God if you, for instance, turn into some sort of squid badger. That's not a thing. That's not a thing that's useful.
Definitely.
I mean, it's terrifying. It's terrifying. I think that's now. You know how a lot of high schools in America have a name for their basketball team or football team or sports team. We should have the Squid Badgers.
Yeah, best mascot ever.
In fact, I'm going to start a Blood Bowl team called the Squid Badgers.
And I'm going to start one called the Octopus Weasels. We're going to clash.
And I'll be the Shark Ferrets. No, hold on, that doesn't work.
No, you can be the Shark Lions.
Nobody, hustle, guys, hustle. Nobody's understanding anything anyone else is saying.
Oh, stop. So yes, as these champions move closer towards this endless battle, they are picking up kind of stragglers, followers who have either joined them as they went through, for instance, the Empire, or some of these pathways, in fact, lead south. So you start in the Empire, you go down through the Borderlands into the Badlands, you cross over the mountains, or the World's Edge Mountains, you come back up through the Darklands, you head into then the Chaos Wastes, and so you can, a lot of followers pick up a very varied collection of followers of, a warband. That's really what they begin to build. Right. And so what I thought might be useful is just to have a look at a handful of warbands, one for each of the Chaos Gods, in terms of what their makeup is and who's part of them as they have progressed through the world. Chaos warbands, as was. The four we're going to discuss in detail are from the 3rd edition of Fantasy. So that's when it had, in gaming terms, maximum crunch. There was the most amount of detail that you could possibly get crammed into the game. And so the progression of a Chaos Champion within 3rd edition, you could do that not only in the fantasy battle game, but also in the role play. So there was dual stats for everything. So the structure of the warbands that we're going to discuss are not possible either within 4th through 8th edition of Fantasy Battle, or indeed the Old World, because they've become homogenized. So the focus is on warrior tribes, tribes of the Hound or tribes of the Crow or what have you, marauder tribes, plus some aspect of chaos godness on that. So you will have chaos warriors or chaos chosen of Slaanesh or of Nurgle or of, depending on the army that you're building. This makes it easier to play the games so that all the rules are in one book, because as we're about to see, you would need quite a lot of books to play the Chaos warbands that we're going to discuss. But in terms of narrative, I think that the 3rd edition Chaos books really are the best for the story of a champion going from humble beginnings through to, almost demonhood. So the first couple of warbands we'll discuss are the warbands of the Slaaneshi champion Drusel Spittletongue.
Shut up.
And so...
Was that a family name or was that a title that he was given?
It was a nickname. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, no, Drusel
cool.
is the nickname. Spittletongue is his family name, of the Von Spittletongues.
Yeah.
So this is a Chaos champion of Slaanesh who carries a kind of a Chaos axe, which has a kind of bestial nature. He's in a suit of really kind of decadent, lacy Chaos armor. And his head is the head of one of the sexy anteaters of Slaanesh. Yes. So he's quite an image.
Strong look, buddy. Strong look.
So as he progressed through the kind of process of becoming a champion, through the adventures and quests and combats, he's built up quite an eclectic group of followers. He has a warband, a small to medium warband, I'd say. He's got 8 Skaven dedicated to Slaanesh. Let that image sink in.
Yeah.
That is hot.
So lots of rats with thongs and fishnets. It's fairly excessive.
And assless chaps.
In fact, that's how they refer to themselves, the assless chaps.
Nice.
Side note, do you get assed chaps?
Yeah, they're called trousers.
They're just called chaps.
Yeah, it's just called chaps.
So we have the Chaos Champion. He has a unit, shall we say, of 8 Slaaneshi Skaven. He has another small unit of 6 Dark Elves, followers of Slaanesh. He has 3 massive Ogres of Slaanesh. What they get up to in their own time is their own business. Let's just say that.
Snoo.
He then has 2 smaller, or not smaller, he has 2 lesser champions that have joined him. They're either gave up their own capacity to have a warband, so they just wanted to go solo and have tagged on then to his rising star, or they were met in battle and their previous warband was defeated, and they then signed on with Drusel rather than being killed. So he has a Chaos Warrior of Slaanesh who has a big, huge flail and has sexy boils on his legs.
Ew. Yeah. Sounds like a real ragtag kind of misfits type thing. Do you think Strupel McTongy is proud or ashamed of his merry bands?
He's not the champion of waffles.
Well, he should.
Strupel.
The guy sounds like he's got waffle legs.
Droopy Stroopy Wafflingtons.
Droopy Strupel. What? Oh. Droopy Strupel. I'm sorry, Chris. I forgot what your question was. Could you ask it again?
It wasn't a question. It was really a comment. It just seems like a ragtag bunch of rejects. Do you know what I mean? Like I can imagine like a Disney show, like based around kind of like the underdogs.
It wouldn't be a Disney show, mate.
The underdogs of like the Chaos followers that they were always rejected by the rest of the major Chaos faction. They're like, we'll start our own little Chaos cult, and they were like, yeah, whatever. And then by the end of the show, everyone was just kind of nodding in like approval, like, yeah, you proved yourself.
But you were saying like, is the leader like Strupel, whatever his name is, like is he proud of them? Like does he turn up and is he ashamed of his followers? He's like, he's a bit. It's like that scene in Dodgeball where they get the S&M kit by accident, and so there's just as they walk out onto the pitch, and everyone's like, "What the fuck?" It's like we're here to play. Let's get this on.
Well, I mean, when you turn up to a battle and you see 8 Skaven running a train on an ogre, you've got to go, whoa! Whoa!
Attack the assless chaps!
Yeah, it's much like what did we mention this in the Old World episodes? The what was the kingdom? It was a kingdom in the east. When the army turned up, the first thing they saw was a load of their opponents cutting their own heads off.
What was that?
Oh, yeah, I remember.
Yeah. It was some Khmer kingdom in the east. I can't remember exactly what it was. But yes, it was prisoners who would, if they cut their own heads off, would their families would be, spared any kind of shame. But yeah, if you turn up and a load of Skaven are going hard on an ogre, yeah. Like,
whoa,
I don't know what else we're doing, lads. But we're killing those guys first.
Yeah. How does that even work, like, mechanically? Were they all, like, one on top of each other, like, in the and with a long trench coat, like, pretending they were an ogre?
8 ratty cocks poking out.
Looked like the underside of a cow, like udders. My God.
Yeah, when the artist draws this, they're going to need a lot of red. So the final member of Drusel's warband is a minor chaos champion. That's a lesser chaos champion, not a child chaos champion, mounted on a steed of Slanesh, on the snaky giraffe tits creature.
Yeah.
And so that's, about 20-ish, a 20-man strong, in quotes man, warband led by Drusel Spittletongue, who has a pet. And that pet is one of the fiends of Slanesh. And if you'll recall, those are the beasts of Slanesh that have, they're a cross between a scorpion, a crab, and some sort of sexy lizard.
Amazing.
Okay, like a gecko, the sexiest of the lizards.
The sexiest.
A sexy gecko of Slanesh.
Tell me a sexier lizard than the gecko. Go on, I challenge you.
What are those ones that, they're on that island, they fucking eat everything. They eat, like, people whole.
Not Komodos.
Komodos. Yeah, that is a... Tell you what, give me 5 minutes for one of them.
Close second to the gecko, but not.
Okay,
not.
All right. Yeah.
Geckos have those adhesive pads on them. Oh man, get me going every time.
Get me going every time.
It's gonna get a bit sticky.
So, moving on. So, Drusel's Chaos Warband is a solid example of a small to medium size warband that kind of roams the Chaos Wastes, based on the kind of visions and portents that the Chaos Champion themselves has. And as they have grown in size and destroyed other warbands, followers either have been attracted to them in terms of their reputation, or they have spared some followers from other Chaos warbands to join them. Of a similar size, then, we look at the Crimson Death, which is the warband of a Khornate champion, or a champion of Khorne, known as Gurney Ironarm. Now, Gurney, or G-Dog as I call him,
it's Gurney, and he drove the fastest milk cart in the West.
Wasn't Gurney Halleck was one of the characters from Dune as well?
That's right, yeah.
Who's the sword?
So Gurney, good old Gurney here, manifests one of the more unique chaos mutations of chaos that are associated with Khorne.
Was it glow sticks?
No.
Just gurning his tits off the whole time.
No, it's mechanization. A huge chunk of his body has been mechanized in terms of steam power, clockwork.
He's now a gurney.
He's now literally a gurney. He carries people everywhere.
That's cool.
That's useful.
The left side of his body is completely mechanized. He has effectively a bionic leg. Some of his organs have turned into chaos machine versions that do the same thing. And his left arm is a cross between a power fist and just a big mace. So he just whacks people left, right, and center with it. But that emphasizes the tools of death that really is what Khorne manifests in terms of weapons or machines.
With a name like Gurney, I feel like everyone knows and loves Gurney. He's everybody's friend. It's like, it's Gurney! Way!
I mean, I suspect he's a very gregarious champion of Khorne until he gets a bit of a drink in him, and then
and then he's quite emotional.
But until then, he's like he's like the Milky Bar kid. He's like, the pills are on me! Hey! Handfuls of them in the crowd.
So Gurney is his warband. He's accompanied, as Drusel was, by a demonic beast of his patron, which is Khorne. So he walks the lands with a chaos fleshhound, a fleshhound of Khorne. In terms of units, he has a unit of 8 Chaos Beastmen of Khorne. So those are the Khorne Gore, as they're referred to. Each demonic pantheon has a specific kind of type of beastmen. So for Slaanesh, it's Slan Gore. For Khorne, it's Khorne Gore. For Nurgle, it's Pesty Gore. And for Tzeentch, it's Zan Gore. And these are as unique in terms of the demonic pantheons, or the greater lesser demons of Slaanesh.
The greater lesser? You mean the normal?
The greater lesser.
Yeah.
No, the medium. The medium demons.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So he has this unit of 8 beastmen. He's also accompanied by a small unit of 4 orcs. So we see greenskins.
Oh.
It's a very inclusive setup, the old chaos thing, isn't it? You know, I approve.
That's how they get you, Chris. That's how they get you. Stay right wing, mate. Stay right wing.
Sorry.
He then is accompanied also by 2 minotaurs. So he has
greater minor Lessitors.
Lessitors.
Have I got it? Am I doing it?
Do you know what? A Lessitor is just a pug with horns. That's all. That's all that is. Cute.
Just, fake horns. Yeah.
And then, much like Drusel Spittletongue's warband, he's also accompanied by a lesser chaos champion who's mounted on a chaos steed. A chaos steed is just an evil horse. That's all that is. Okay. Sometimes it's as simple as that.
No juggernauts.
No juggernauts at this stage for Gurney. So what we're talking about here is
for you.
Is 2 war bands that are at, they're maybe a third of the way through the kind of progression towards Daemonhood. Over time, you'll see that both of those war bands will grow. So they'll get further followers of various types. They might be then joined by monstrous creatures, and even in some instances, as they get bigger, they'll be joined by other war bands will sign on with each of those champions. It'll get larger and larger in size in terms of the warband. It'll become more varied and it'll become more effective because it has grown to be able to occupy various roles within the kind of roiling, fighting, chaos wastes. Cool. So by the time one of these champions will get to the eternal battle, they can be many thousands strong.
Wow.
Or indeed, there'll be a smaller band, maybe a couple of hundred, but these will be elite. These will have gained an enormous amount of experience in how to fight other war bands of chaos. So they'll know how to deal with minotaurs. They'll know how to deal with beastmen of the various flavors. And so will be effective or more effective in their journey, in their battles. And we should say at this stage something about the landscape that they find themselves in. They'll be fighting amongst the kind of open plains, but also the ruined settlements, the towns, the walled towns and fortresses of the various chaos champions around the realm of chaos. So it's not all a battle on open field. They'll be fighting in trees or fighting in woods, but these woods will be made of, crystal or brass or, dicks. Who knows?
Oh, God. The Dick Forest.
So that's a warband of Slaanesh and a warband of Chaos, or a warband of Khorne. And so what I'll do now is, and I will make sure to put it in the show notes, I will send you both those an image of those warbands so you can get a good feeling of what the hell I'm talking about.
While you're doing that, I have two questions that I feel are really embodying Kral's spirit in these. With those kind of warbands that get up to the kind of thousands, logistically speaking, like, what do they do in terms of resources? Like, do these fuckers have to eat? And follow-up question, is there like strategy to those warbands? Because if you're getting into the thousands, obviously you're starting to look at like an army, surely. Are they led, or is it just fucking chaos? They're just like, get in there and tear
chaos
up some
by
ass.
Definition.
Yeah, it's chaos by definition, but an army marches on its stomach, and in the chaos waste, it's mostly meat. And where they get that meat from, let's just draw a veil. They'll be eating the followers of chaos, or Huel, our new sponsor. Squid badgers. I've got a nasty case of the squid badgers.
Squiddy bees.
But there are farms in the north, so
chaos farms.
Yeah, it's going to be subsistence level existence. Subsistence existence. Yeah.
Cool.
Ben's writing that down. He's like, that rhymes. Subsistence.
No.
Existence.
No, I was just thinking of those pictures. They are next level, man.
Yeah, man. They're cool.
When would those have been painted? Because they look really old school.
Yeah, those will be from 86, 87.
Wow.
The character in the bottom left, the big Minotaur dude, looks like he's having a whale of a time.
Yeah. No. It's just that's a natural reaction to seeing 8 Skaven running a train on an ogre.
Who's the KKK looking character in the top right?
Yeah,
kind of looks Eldari.
And who's he pointing at?
Yeah,
I want you.
Those images should be side by side. He's actually pointing at the Minotaur.
I see.
Okay. That's right. Keep your mouth open. The
greater minor Lessator.
Yeah. Those are a Slaaneshi and a Khorne warband. So those are champions of chaos on their march, on their kind of go. If we were to look at the warbands of Nurgle and Tzeentch, what we would find is they're a lot less structured, if you can believe that, just from the images that you've seen there. Nurgle, in general, it's a case of misery loves company. So if we look at 2 rival warbands, a Nurgle warband and a Tzeentch warband, one led by Lothar Bubonicus, guess which god he follows.
Wow.
And then the other one is Werner Flamefist. So these are
Werner.
two.
Does he talk like this? Yeah. Like a very slow talking German Bavarian filmmaker?
I think so. I mean, he has a fleshy dog skull, so maybe.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Werner.
So over their kind of battles, what you find is that Lothar's warband kind of ebbs and flows. So as there are combats happening, he's losing followers, he's gaining followers, but that's true for all Chaos warbands. So Lothar's one is 9. He comes with 9 Pestigor, so that's 9 beastmen dedicated to the god of Nurgle. He has 3 each of Chaos dwarves and Skaven. So you're starting to see kind of a kind of, as Chris said, a ragtag group together. He has, most terrifyingly, 2 humans.
Ooh.
Basic humans. Who knew?
2 humans.
But chaos following humans.
Yes, these would be chaos marauders.
Okay. Yeah.
Marauders, right.
He then has, in terms of additional heroes, he has a chaos warrior, a mounted chaos warrior, effectively a chaos knight, called Grodd, who one of their mutations is an arm 3 times the size that it should be. And so he just bitch slaps people off horses. But that's really what he does. But, yeah.
What about the backing singers? What are they made up of?
He then has an ogre as well. And
you got to have a token ogre in your in your warband.
A toger.
A toga, yeah,
just to tick the box.
and also he, through his travels, he kind of, I was about to say hooked up with, but was joined by a chaos witch who kind of, guides his warband through visions.
She was the Yoko Ono of the group. Like, came along.
It was a lot bigger.
Shit just fell apart. Like, did an experimental album, didn't do so well.
So we then look at Werner Flamefist, who was Lothar's greatest rival, and this is a champion of Tzeentch mounted on a disc of Tzeentch, so effectively on a hoverboard, on a living hoverboard, and scoots around the place. He's quite heavily mutated, but
like a dick on a Segway. Oh, fucking dickhead. What? Why? Why are you even on it? What do you? All right,
okay. I thought you meant it was just a dick on a Segway.
That's what I thought.
Same difference.
Terrifying.
I'm sure I've shared this before, but whenever I think of a Segway, I will never forget that time I was on the London Underground and a guy got off the tube in front of me and he got on his little, it wasn't like a Segway, the one with the big wheels. It's the little, it's like the board with like two tiny little wheels at the side. And he just got on it on the platform and he was just, obviously he's now like a head above everyone else. And I was just watching him go there and it's obviously packed. So he's going really slow. Anyway, he got to the elevator. He got on the elevator on this thing and just sat there and then right at the end he went to get off and there's the little lip where it goes down. The Segway just stopped and he just fucking face planted straight there and I could not love that moment. Like, it was amazing. I was like, well, that'll teach you. That'll teach you,
bud.
Now I can tell you to your face you're a knobhead.
Now I can tell to the back of your head.
So Flamefist, then, he's accompanied by 7 Zangor, so he's accompanied by a unit of 7 beastmen of Tzeentch. He's also accompanied by 3 humans and a paltry 2 orcs, one of whom carries his banner. So, he's
waste of an orc, isn't it? You want the orc front and center to fuck shit up.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Give the banner to the humans.
Give a banner to humans. Give a giant axe to an orc.
Yeah, I mean that's how the poem goes, right, Darren?
Yeah, that is how the poem goes, right? Yeah. Ben, do you remember the poem?
No.
Yes, and you fucker. We then see 3 sort of monstrous creatures associate with Flamefist as well. We have a cockatrice, which is a giant evil chicken. Yep. That has a petrifying gaze. It can turn you to stone.
Petrifying gaze. Wow.
Okay. No, I'm not going to make that joke. No,
I'm not going to make that joke either.
How dare you, Ben?
How dare you? How
dare you?
How dare us?
How very dare you? They're also accompanied by a Minotaur. Obviously, can you really be a Chaos Warband if you don't have an Ogre and or Minotaur?
Exactly, yeah.
Most interestingly, he's accompanied by the previous leader of the Warband who has become Chaos Spawn. So we talked about when you fail, when the gods judge you unworthy of ascension into Daemonhood, you are gifted, again in quotes, with several chaos mutations, which renders you into a kind of stupid braying beast that can be guided into battle. And so the previous champion of the warband had failed in some fashion and was turned into a smiley-headed mushroom slug monster.
Wow.
Okay. So this guy was a warband chief leader and got relegated. He must be bitter about that. I mean, considering it's all kind of like might is right and I'm more powerful than you and all that stuff. Is he happy? Does he accept his role?
No, he's mindless. He doesn't really.
Oh right, I see.
It's now like a beast. It's like a mindless.
It's just instinct.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just instinct. Yeah. And so those war bands, really, while they're roughly the same size as those of Slaanesh and Khorne, they are somewhat viewed as lesser because they are more diverse and scattered. They're less organized, as it were. And so they're more a kind of skirmishy kind of force than the other two, which would be, will grow to become quite a significant army. And now, and we shall lob this in the show notes as well, I just want to show you the image of these two war bands facing off against each other because, as I said, they were the great enemies within the realm
great
of
anemones.
The inanimate anemones.
The war bands of Lothar Bubonicus and Werner Thunderfist about to join in matrimony, in battle.
In matrimony.
in the kind of mid-top rightish, you can see the yellow death chicken.
Oh yeah,
and just to the kind of lower right of that, you see Werner von Flamefist on his disc of Slaanesh.
Cool.
With what looks to be some sort of massive septic penis coming out of his shoulder.
Can't see the disc. Oh yeah, I can. Yeah.
He's standing on it.
And then there's the orc with the banner.
Yeah, with a little flag.
Hello. He's like kind of looking down at the ground as well. Looks a little bit depressed.
Yeah, all right, grunter.
Yeah, I'll just go
stand
hold
at the
this.
back.
And then opposite then you've got Lothar Bubonicus, who is in fact mounted. I didn't mention this. He's mounted on a palanquin of Nurgle.
Oh yeah, he's got his little Nurglings.
So he's sat on a throne with that's been held up by a horde of Nurgles. Nurgles? A horde of Nurglings as they move around. And then you can see in the kind of bottom left, Grond, the warrior, looking to aggressively high-five someone with his huge green arm.
Oh, yeah. With his wacky, massive hand, yeah. And some poor soul's corpse behind him.
Yeah. Do you think that flag with Bubonicus on it was hand-painted? Do you think that was freestyle?
Everything there is
that's
hand-painted. So
that is insane.
Yeah. But that was a big theme in 3rd and 4th edition was huge flags. The bigger and more ornate the banners, the better. And it used to be a great tactic to, even if you have one of your shittest units with an enormous kind of really detailed banner, it was psychological warfare because you felt, well, why would someone paint a banner on a shit unit so well? So there must be something about them.
Compensate for something down.
Let's focus on them. Yeah. So tie up your enemy.
It was a trend, was it, or was it actually like part of the thing in 3rd? People just were digging the big flags, as it were.
Yeah, I think people were just, as you say, digging the big what's names flags.
Banners and yeah.
So those 4 war bands give you an idea of the kind of an established Chaos champion and what they would go through to be able to grow in power and increase the size of their war bands. As I say, lots of those kinds of war bands are all at different stages as you're going around the realm of chaos, as you're going around the Chaos Wastes. And some will wipe out anything that comes near them. Some will, be open to merging for a specific battle or for a longer term alliance. And that way you find these Chaos warbands grow. And as they grow, they attract other warbands to them or indeed whole tribes of marauders. And so that's where you get these larger Chaos hosts, these larger Chaos armies that descend then into the Old World or Cathay or Nagroth and fight the kind of inhabitants of those countries. And as I say, that those examples are taken from 3rd edition, which gives you a better narrative of the path of a champion, where in the more modern editions, it's almost been exclusively focused on individual tribes of marauders from, the northern raiders. And so a lot of this additional color, these different races that you can have in warbands, that's been removed. So it's now almost exclusively humans plus chaos ogres or chaos trolls, or then monsters added in. So it's more like Viking Raiders plus.
Yeah.
It's that kind of idea. In 4th and 5th edition, I think more in 5th edition, when you create a chaos champion, you simply bought a champion of a certain level, and to recreate the idea of a warband for that champion, you had to spend the same amount of points, at least the same amount of points that you did on the champion, on the followers. So if you created a champion for 300 points, you would have to have at least 300 points worth of followers associated with them. And so it allowed you to build up an army in a similar fashion to the warbands we've discussed, but these were all, human tribes rather than an occasional group of Skaven or Dark Elves or what have you added in. And a lot of the gifts were pulled out of the game. A lot of the mutations went from, a couple of hundred in the book, in the Realms of Chaos book, down to maybe a dozen cards. And that would be things that would be the most useful in the tabletop game. So you're looking at, horns or a scorpion tail or would be used instead of, acid skin. Which it was great for a role-play session, but not so much for...
But irritating.
Yeah, but irritating.
Yeah. Very itchy. Yep.
I go through a lot of topical lotion, it has to be said.
As we progress through the Warriors of Chaos episodes, we'll start next episode with the kind of history of the Warriors of Chaos. We'll touch on a lot of these Chaos champions, and we'll talk about them in a bit more detail. But hopefully, from this episode, you get an idea of, how someone becomes a Chaos champion, their path through then with various gifts from the Chaos patrons, and how their warbands build and look and feel when you're playing them on the tabletop.
Amazing.
Fucking dope. I don't know why. Maybe it is their inherent kind of ragtag unorganizedness, which I like over like the Ponzi elves.
There's no rules. There's no rules.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Like the orcs, they're just kind of
Rulebook's that thick, it's huge.
Okay. There are loads of rules. The end result being that there's not that many rules. Right, Crow, if you had to pick from those 4 warbands, if you had to pick a single mini for Dar, which one would it be?
A single mini for Dar out of all the warbands and all the characters that he's shown us.
Yeah.
One for Dar. I would go for... It's backhander Jimmy, isn't it? The one with the big inflated hand.
Grand. Holy shit.
Grand. Yeah, mum. Grand, old handy Grand. Just backhanding people. No, you're wrong. Shh, that was not part of the law.
Right, Dar, you pick one for me?
Pick one for you. I'd have to go with the Slaneshi champion with the unfortunately racist head covering. The flail and the pointing. I think that only insofar as that reflects your character, I think, more than...
Yeah.
I'm assuming you mean the flail. Right, Krell, for you, I think the one that really jumps out for me is the depressed orc holding the banner. And the sound that accompanies that is exactly that. It's
oh, why can't I be on the front line? You stand there and hold the fucking flag. Okay. Zog.
Slag the flag holder. Sweet. Right.
Nice. Loving it.
Up?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. All right, that's all from us. Thank you so much for listening. Details and imagery for the topics we've discussed in this podcast can be found on our website at layingdownthelore.com. We also have all our previous episodes on there, release schedules and merchandise. Again, if you're keen to support this podcast, just click on the now Quartermaster link in the description.
Ooh.
Give us all of your Chaos Spawn Duel. We'll be back again soon displaying just how little Chris and I know about warbands. Until then, goodbye.
Warbands don't make music, apparently. How disappointing. Bye.
But they do have a really weird Skaven choir. Bye.